Okay, so welcome to another presentation on a special topic by one of our diplomat students who has completed his diplomat. So should I introduce you as Samrat or Abdullah?
It's
I
fine.
don't know.
It's fine.
Okay, so okay, so I'm gonna just let you take it away.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, the presentation length should be like perfectly 1 hour, or should I keep it 45 minutes and then question answer session? Like how?
You can do what you feel comfortable with. It gives you enough time to say what you want to say. I just want to leave time for people to comment and ask questions, and everything at the end. That's all. So just
Okay,
leave time
and
for
the,
that.
the meeting duration is 1 hour or
An hour and a half.
hour and a half? Okay, okay. Then we have time. Let me share my screen and then we can get started. Okay. Please let me know once it's visible.
Okay, we see it.
You see my presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. So my topic was, will we be able to find meaning of our work in the age of artificial intelligence? So the topic I selected because as the AI is progressing rapidly and as AI is becoming more and more powerful, will it create a sense of meaninglessness in us with regard to our work? So that's what I tried to work on in my paper. So I have prepared a very small presentation, let's say 4 slides. I tried to make it very dense so that we can like discuss and keep room for like asking questions and things. So let me get started. So before we start discussing if we'll be able to find meaning of our work in the age of AI, it's very important to understand first what makes our work meaningful and what basically drives meaninglessness at our work. So when I was like reading through different books and different research papers and articles and things like this, I came across a very uh, very good research article from MIT Solon Management Review, which basically uh, uh, did a research on around 150 people across 10 different professions. And the reason it caught my attention because the article basically started with a quote from Dr. Viktor Frankl saying, okay, Viktor Frankl said this, that, and that. So I was automatically drawn to that article. And when I was reading that research article, what I found out, they were saying, according to the research, what they found, there are 5 very unconventional things that they found that basically makes work meaningful. And I was not surprised to see on the very top of the list was self-transcendent. So when they were like doing the research, when they asked people questions, people across different professions, the first thing they mentioned was self-transcendence. So it was not only about themselves. When they had this sense that, okay, they were able to contribute to something to the society, or they were able to contribute to something that was bigger than themselves, they were able to find meaning. So if the work is of such a nature that it goes beyond like personal accomplishment and things like this, and if they were able to connect themselves with a bigger purpose, they were able to find meaning of their work. So self-transcendence is like a very important part of finding meaning. And then the second thing that they find was when it comes to meaningfulness, we always think, okay, it has to be a very happy feeling, and people should feel very happy, very delighted. They should be smiling all the time at work, and that's what makes the work meaningful. But what they found, it was like the the process of finding meaning can be poignant as well. So it means it could invoke deep emotion, a bit of emotional distress at times, but only when you go through the process, you complete the process, and you find out what you did was actually very meaningful. So they've found out examples like a lawyer working extra hours just to fight for the case of his client, just to he knew that he was fighting for something good. A nurse who who was like by the side of the patient and helped the patient to like die peacefully, like at the very last hour of that patient. So though it was very emotionally stressful, but in hindsight, when she thought about it, she found it okay. It was actually very meaningful. And we found this in several other areas as well, right? When people during that death, when they were asked what was the most meaningful, or what are the couple of things they would like to remember, they would like to share, they always mention the hard things, right? There are things for which they struggled, where there was like emotionally intense, they had to go through some hardships and things like this. So finding meaning is not always easy. It's not always like smiling and happy feeling. It could be emotionally intense and distressful as well. But when you look at it at hindsight, you find it really meaningful. And the third thing they found about meaningfulness was episodic. So often we think that, okay, if my job needs to be meaningful, it needs to be meaningful at every second, every minute, every hour. I need to be happy. I need to be, I need to feel that my work is making sense and meaningful all the time. But what the research found is that it's not like that. Most of the cases, people would occasionally feel that their work is meaningful, right? It's not like a continuous, of course, like your work is meaningful and it's a continuous process, but you will not have this uh, emotional revolution all the time that, okay, my work is meaningful, my work is meaningful. So the very idea is that it could be episodic. So every now and then there will be things that will be happening that will make your work meaningful. So meaningful is not something that is like persistent, it could be episodic as well. And then another point they found is reflective. People who participate in the research often said, okay, now that you're asking me to talk about it, now I found out how meaningful my work was, how I was actually contributing to the society, something bigger than myself, and how it contributed to my growth and the way I look at the world. So most of the cases, people often do not reflect. People often do not, contemplate. Only when they reflect and contemplate, they figure out that, okay, I was doing something really meaningful. My job was meaningful. My work was meaningful. My life was meaningful. Things like this. So reflection is such a big part of finding meaning. So at time we really need to take a step back and really need to think about it to find our life and work as meaningful. I was reading a very ancient book from Aristotle the other day. The name of the book was Nicomachean Ethics. The way we define rationality these days, like when I say someone is very rational, we often think that person is very logical. He thinks very logically. But the way Aristotle presented, rational is like, of course, you should be.
Wait, can everyone mute themselves, please?
Fine.
Dr. Kanda, can you mute yourself? Okay, thank you. Okay, continue.
Okay. So when we think a person is very rational, we often think, okay, that person thinks really logically. So the modern idea of rationality is like you are very logical. You always think logically and you are rational. So what Aristotle was pointing out is that it's not about thinking logically all the time. It's also to be able to understand that you are equally capable of believing things that's not true. So you have the ability of self-deception. So only when you contemplate and reflect, you can not only think logically, you can also find out the flaws, or you can look into the areas that you are not, looking at previously. So being rational does not mean only think logically. It also means how well you can contemplate, how well you can, apply your self-reflection. So this is a very, very important part of finding meaning. And then the last point the found out was meaning could be very, very personal. So when you are doing a job, when doing something, it's very important that how it connects with your values, with your goals, and with your overall worldview. So something that I find meaningful could be of no importance to someone else, right? Because something appears to be meaningful to me because of my very personal experience, my worldview, my values, and things like this. So it's also need to understand that something that every people is finding meaningful may not be meaningful for me. I again, I need to reflect. I need to figure out my own values and things like this, so that my work can be meaningful to me as well. So these are the 5 things they found out, that when people think about it and when people talk about it, these are the like very core theme of like finding their work meaningful. And then when they dive deep further, they also found out 7 other things that basically drives meaninglessness. So the nice thing about the research was that it was pointing out there are 7 drivers of meaninglessness, like 7 key drivers of meaninglessness. This is kind of basic things people would expect from their work. So even if even if they're getting it, it will not increase their sense of meaningfulness. But if they don't get it, it can drive meaningfulness. So it's not increasing meaningfulness, but maybe keeping the meaningfulness as is. But if they do not get it, it can drive meaninglessness. So what are the 7 like deadly things that would drive meaninglessness at work that the managers and the organization should be aware of? So the first thing was disconnecting people from their values. So often we, like our organizations or our manager or a certain situation would force people to do kind of things that is not completely aligned with their value. When people are forced to do things, even if it's a well-paid job, if people have like a very high sense of self-worth, they know their values, they continuously think about their values and things like this. If you force them to do something that goes against their value, it can drive meaninglessness. Then taking employees for granted. Many people said that their manager, their organization, their top leadership would make them do things that goes beyond their regular duties. Maybe they're making like assigning them multiple projects that they cannot complete. They're continuously forcing people to work overtime, things like this. And then these are the things that they're doing extra. They love the organization, it aligns with their values. But at the end of the day, the people who are making them do that, the organization, the managers, are not appreciating and recognizing the fact that they're going beyond their regular duty. So when they take people for granted, like you're making me work overtime, but you're not even recognizing, you're not even appreciating. And like at the end of the year, when organization is celebrating the success, they're not even mentioning that, okay, you people have worked really hard, we know that you have to do this and this in order for us to get this success, but it was not even mentioned. So when people think that, okay, my contribution does not really add any value, even if I'm working extra hours, I'm not recognized, I'm not mentioned, and they feel very small, they feel very insignificant, and they feel that, okay, their organization and the managers are basically taking them for granted. So it can drive meaninglessness, sorry. And then giving people pointless work to do. There are certain cases when our organization, our top leadership, or our managers would tell us to do very insignificant, pointless work. Let's say a common complaint is that they have prepared a report, a presentation, and things like this, and they are very close to the job. They knows it better, but the manager, instead of giving a meaningful feedback, just to show that, okay, he or she is superior, he would say, okay, go change this, that, and things like this. Even though they're not close to the project, they're not present in the project, things like this, but they would make people do pointless work, and that could drive meaninglessness. Unfair treatment at work. So if a people, if a person feel that he was unfairly treated within the team or within the organization, or a particular group or ethnicity was unfairly treated, it could drive like meaninglessness, because they are kind of feel that, okay, I'm otherized, I'm not part of the meaningful whole, so I do not belong there. So it can drive a sense of meaninglessness. People generally want to be included, they want to feel that they're included. So if they get that, it's fine. It does not drastically improve the meaningfulness. If they do not get it, it can drive meaninglessness. As I mentioned earlier, overriding people's better judgment. So even if I am doing the job, if my leadership is coming back and saying, okay, instead of doing this, do that, instead of doing that, do that, things like this. So when I have applied my better judgment, I know this thing is true, but my organization or my leadership is saying, no, instead of doing that, do that. So my better judgment was not valued there. And when I work on something, I feel attached to it. And if particularly if I worked hard to it, if I know that I have done some good job, but my better judgment was override by the manager and the leadership, people feel a very strong sense of meaninglessness. And then disconnecting people from supportive relationships. So specifically during pandemic and things like this, due to all these remote works and extreme competition within the teams and within the organization. So there are basically people are working remotely. They do not get to see each other often. They're not interacting on a human level on a daily basis. At the same time, within the team, if there is a very strong sense of competition, people naturally do not help each other. And at times they try to, you know, bring them down instead of giving them like a meaningful constructive feedback. They would go to the manager and say that, okay, this guy did that, this and that, things like this. So it creates a sense of alienation at work, that there is no support system at work. So that can create meaninglessness as well. And then if there are some like specific particular occupational hazard, like if you are telling people to do something very risky, if you're not giving them personal protection equipment, you're telling them to do something illegal that could be harmful for their health and things like this, if there are like direct threats like this, people would also find their work very meaningless. So these are the kind of framework I also, when I was comparing with other books and articles, this is a very common theme that I got, what makes work meaningful and what drives meaninglessness at work. And now we have seen rapid progress of artificial intelligence in last 2 years. And in the next slide, we'll see, can you see the next slide now?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. How AI can like contribute to the overall meaninglessness. So we have seen rapid progress and huge investment in the field of AI, and there are very advanced models coming out. And these days, those models can write very complicated codes. So previously, like a entry-level software engineer, now AI is kind of writing the codes that like a entry-level software engineer could write, right? So they do not need all those entry-level software engineers anymore. They can create content. So if you tell them to create content, they will be able to create content. They can write book, they can write poem, things like this. They can like artificial intelligence is becoming so strong that there are AIs called emotion AI. They can, if trained heavily on like huge set of data, they can detect emotion. They can detect disease as well. artificial AI intelligence is now used more and more to teach people. Artificial intelligence are now used as lawyer at in some, I think they fought a couple of thousands of cases in US, and their winning rate was better than like human lawyers. And they can also drive. Tests are now done, so like most of the technologies that needed for like driverless cars and things like this is more or less ready, but the infrastructures and things like this are not ready. But the technological readiness is more or less there. There were these are AI. If you like train AI with massive data set, it will be able to do things that you want it to do. And then there are AGI. So now with this, all those massive investment, AI is trying to go towards AGI. What is AGI? AGI is AI is artificial intelligence. AGI is artificial general intelligence. What is general intelligence? So we human being, we have general intelligence. Now, many of the scientists and all those AI developing companies, they're trying to claim that AI will at some point will become so advanced that will not have to train it anymore. It will take feedback from itself, it will self-train itself, it will self-learn, and it will continuously improve itself. There was a research couple last year which showed 50% of the AI researchers believe that there is a 10% or higher chance that human species will go extinct if we cannot handle this AI properly. So, of course, we need to take this kind of claims with a pinch of salt, but of course, we can see the anxiety is there that, okay, at a pace that AI is growing, it can pose like a very important threat for our overall meaning crisis. And then how can AI contribute to this meaning crisis? When the Industrial Revolution and capitalism was growing at a rapid pace, in late 19th century, I think Karl Marx came up with this theory of alienation, where he said modern industrial revolution and capitalism is alienating people from their work, alienating people from their people, alienating people from other people. It's alienating people from the nature. It's alienating people from themselves. With this advancement of AI, I can see this kind of things will become more and more prominent. Why do I say that? Alienation from work. There will be more and more automation at the work, in the work. So people now kind of things they do, it will become more and more automated. And in some areas, AIs, as they're heavily trained, they will be able to do certain things better than human being. So that can like create some sense of anxiety, stress, and meaninglessness. Then alienation from other people. Remote work will become more and more prevalent, and this disconnection with people, I think, will become more and more severe in coming days. Alienation from nature. Virtual reality is becoming a very big thing, and going forward, virtual reality will become more and more prominent, which will also contribute to the overall meaninglessness of people and alienation from oneself. When people is alienated from their work, alienated from other people, alienated from nature, it's bound to happen that they will start questioning their own existence, and they can fall into severe meaninglessness because they will also feel disconnected with their own self. So this is how AI can reinforce the meaninglessness that we're going through in our modern age. So when I was trying to figure out how can we basically use AI in a meaningful way that we can to some extent fight this meaningfulness, acknowledge the fact that, okay, there is a chance that AI can drive meaninglessness, but how can we use it more meaningfully? How can we become more human in this age of AI? How should we think and how should we approach this? So there are a couple of things when it comes to work that I think we need to, because one thing is that meaning is individual. So individual will have to take responsibility. Again, the word we have heard like every day when we discuss about logotherapy, that responsibility is a very big thing when it comes to find meaning for an individual. So individual have to take their own responsibility. At the same time, most of the cases, not all the individuals will be equally well equipped to take this challenge, because AI will change at a very, very rapid pace going forward. I will give you a very small example, what happened 2 weeks back. So the largest company in the field of AI was OpenAI, and they were about to raise like highest amount of investment in the history of like financing. And OpenAI ChatGPT, probably have heard about it, right? And then some Chinese model came out 2 weeks back. The name of that model was DeepSeek, and that model was so efficient. When this OpenAI and ChatGPT was using billions of dollars to train itself, to make it efficient, and there are so many companies which are already using the system of OpenAI. They have started their business and things like this. That Chinese company only spent like $6 or $7 million, and it was in some cases far more advanced than the ChatGPT, which was using billions and billions of dollars. So the US market, stock market, it was like going through like a huge shock, and 2 weeks back, it experienced like a highest degrowth on a single day when Chinese company declared that, okay, we have come up with something more advanced, more efficient, DeepSeek. So it is also very distressful, right? Because when AI was actually growing, people were not only using AI trying to learn new skills, they learned it, they become like attached to it. They said that, okay, now I am very experienced, I'm expert of the system. All on a sudden, within 6 months, a completely new model came, which is far more efficient. And people are like, what did I do for the last 6 months? So previously, education was like a building, right? You build a building, you live there for the rest of your life. So if you learn something new, you do not need to worry about that, okay, my knowledge will become obsolete in 6 months' time. When my father, my grandfather, they learned something, it was like a lifelong thing. If they learned how to use computer, a certain software in the computer, it was like a lifelong thing. They do not need to think about it for the rest of their lives. People who learned Excel in 1990s, they do not need to worry about it. They're still using Excel and things like this. But think about all those new programming languages and advanced softwares and things like this. Every other month, there will be a more advanced and faster version of it will come out, and someone else will pick it up. But it's very difficult, like if you have already learned something and you're already attached to it, and now a new system or new software will come up, you need to give up the old thing, you need to learn something completely new. It's very easy if you are young, if you have this mindset to change yourself, continuously reinvent yourself. But if you are above 40, you have a family, you have other issues, you have other issues with your life. So it's not difficult to completely forget everything that you have learned, everything that you have cherished for your entire life. Now you need to give it up and think about something completely new. So many people would try to argue that, okay, technological advancement and things like that was there before. Nothing happened. People found new opportunities, true. But the only thing that is different this time is that the rate of change is so fast. Previously, the rate of change was not very fast. If you learn something new, you can use it for the rest of your life. But I think we're moving to a direction, to an era where the rate of change, like not the change itself, but the rate of change is going to be very, very alarming. But still, human being went through changes. They have shown excellent capability of adaptability and learning new things, which basically makes us like optimistic. And I have found out this in several. It's very difficult to find something from very established books, as I've said, because things are changing very rapidly. So you cannot do you cannot find a very solid academic analysis, because it would become obsolete in 2 years' time, because the pace is so fast. So I went through some research and articles, and I found out some common theme that people as an individual or organizations can do to still drive this culture of meaningfulness. So first and foremost, the individual responsibility will be to use AI ethically. So first of all, AI does not have any moral compass, right? It does not have a moral compass. The more and more people will use it, the more it will get its moral compass from the data set that it's trained on. So first of all, it's our responsibility to use AI in a moral, ethical way. So that at least we have this sense that, okay, we are building something, we're developing something, we're part of it, we are trying to interact with it in an ethical way, so that it's trained on a data set that is moral, that is ethical. To this date, we are the moral and ethical agent. So there are no other moral or ethical agent other than, at least in this world, other than human being who can interact with each other in a meaningful way. And then the second would be to unleash the inner creator, build what AI can't build. So I think this one is still very powerful. There are things that AI can do, AI can automate if it's trained on a large set of data. So if we can think about it in a way, as the landscape of AI will change, the professional landscape and the opportunity will also change. So as AI will take care of more and more routine and regular tasks, we need to think about how can we use our creative agency, how can we use our creative faculty more and more, as trying to learn some new technical skills. I was studying logotherapy. When I started studying logotherapy, I also started like reading philosophy a bit more. And I was always I never did something in front of camera, but I last year I thought, why not? So I started like a YouTube channel where I studied finance in my university, and then I work in finance. Then I started working in logotherapy. Then I started studying philosophy. Now I have a YouTube channel where I'm discussing philosophy. I just opened it, and I already have like 27,000 followers. So this is my creative part is basically coming out, right? So while AI can do more and more routine and regulated kind of things, mathematical kind of things, the moral, the creative things still lies with human beings. So we really need to be aware that we are human being. We also have a moral and ethical agency. We're also creative. We can create something, and we can feel the spark of that creation, right? That AI cannot feel. So we should be a bit more reflective, and we should be truly aware that, okay, I have a creative agency within myself, and I can create something meaningful, and I can drive meaning from it. So it's really important that as AI takes care of more and more routine work, we should focus more and more on the creative part of human being. Maybe it's a chance for us to become in contact with more human part of us, right? So that is something that I would emphasize more and more. And then the next thing that I saw as a common theme was learn, adapt, and thrive. So as I have mentioned, so we have the capacity to learn, we have the capacity to adapt, and we have the capacity to uh, thrive in the phase of challenges. So in the age of AI will automate routine things. It will should give us enough free time to learn new skills and do something new. If we can become curious enough, I think the age of AI still belongs to the people who are curious. But again, going back to a previous point, I said it's not easy to become curious all the time. At times, we just want to relax, we just don't want to learn new things. But probably we're entering into an era where we'll have to be curious more and more to find meaning. And then this moral, ethical, creative agency and taking challenges. I think we'll have to reconnect with what does it mean to be a human being. It goes beyond the traditional meaning of our work. So connecting with other people, acting ethically, exploring our creative side and things like this, and redefining our work. So as AI will become more and more prominent and prevalent, we need to align more and more with our values, because these days we often think, okay, I will get a job, I'll work on this job for rest of my life and things like this. We at times, there are people who actively think about their values, that okay, what are my values, what am I trying to achieve through this job, what kind of values I'm creating. But often people do not think about their values, they do not actively try to align their values with their work. So I think in the age of AI, we'll have to be more and more cautious about what are our values, what do we value in our life, what do we actually want from our work, and try to be more curious, try to learn those skills so that we can meaningfully connect our work with our values. So that will become more and more important. And last but not the least, I think it's like a combination of everything that we have discussed. We need to take a more human-centered perspective. So instead of only thinking about work in terms of, okay, creating like earning money and things like this and mindless competition with our coworker, we really need to take a human-centered approach that, okay, how should we redefine our work? How should we meaningfully connect with our work? It should not be only about mindless competition and earning money. It should go beyond that, and only then I think we can find value and meaning in our work. These are the things that an individual can do, and it's difficult for the individual to accomplish all those things unless he gets help from the organizations. So organizations in the age of AI can try to establish a meaningfulness ecosystem where organization should clearly state that what are their values, so organization and meaningfulness. So our organization as a whole should propose that, okay, we stand for this value, these are our missions and these are our visions, we are working towards this vision, so that people can say, okay, I'm not working for this company, but people can also better align their values with their work. They can say, okay, I want to work for this company because this company is driving this vision, so I want to be a part of this vision. So the entire organization is basically driving some meaning, and I want to be a part of this meaningful ecosystem, job meaningfulness. And then, okay, maybe an organization or company is a very big and broader concept, but I'm applying for a certain role. What is this role is basically about? And it is the responsibility of the organization is to go beyond the job description. Okay, if you join this company, you'll be doing this, and this, but maybe it's more important for the company to articulate that, okay, you will be doing this, and that, and this is how your job is connected to the overall mission and vision of the company, and this is how basically you're driving the company. Your work matter, and otherwise, like, people would feel very small, insignificant if they cannot relate how does his or her work like contribute to the overall meaning ecosystem of the company. So companies should try to go beyond the job description, and they should try to propose, like, okay, you will be doing this, and this is how it's connected with the overall mission and vision of the company, and this is how your job is basically creating an impact. And then task meaningfulness, I think this is something we have covered. So there is job meaningfulness and there is task meaningfulness. Job is basically the job or the role you are hired for, but on a day-to-day basis within that job you'll be doing so many other things. Just I said, like, preparing a presentation, and if you're preparing a presentation, your leadership, the leadership of the company, your manager should say, this is the reason why you're preparing this presentation, and this is how it connects to the overall goal. Maybe you're busy with a very important project, but your leadership is coming with a very urgent request, which is stressful because you're already busy with something, you need to deliver something. But if your company is telling you, hey, this is a very small report that I need from you, because I'm going to present this, and if I can meaningfully present this, we'll get this funding, or we'll get this deal, or things like this. Even those very stressful small activity can become very, very meaningful for that particular person. It's very difficult to make the overall job meaningful unless the task that you're doing within that job is also meaningful. So organizations should be aware that very small things that they do, it can drive meaninglessness. So they should be careful, and they should try to connect all those job and tasks to the overall mission and vision that should run across the company and organization. And there is this interactional meaningfulness. Instead of driving mindless competition within the organization among the colleagues, organization should nurture and foster a culture of mindful interaction, where people can interact with each other as a human being, as colleagues and friends. So if there is a culture where people can open up, talk about their vulnerabilities and things like this, they find it easier to cope up with that environment and speak up regarding their challenges. People can struggle to learn new things, but if they feel that, okay, if I go to someone else and if I seek for help, they will not backbite and they will help me, it already creates such a huge impact. And then the last thing is that holistic meaningfulness. Most of the cases we'll see one or two components of this meaningful ecosystem is present within an organization, but it's very important that how all those components of meaningful ecosystems are interacting with each other present in the organization, so that an employee can have a holistic sense of meaningfulness in his work. It's not only about one or two elements of meaningful ecosystem, rather the entire all the pillars are coming as a whole to create a meaningful holistic ecosystem for the organization, and that should be the duty of the organization in the age of AI. So that was more or less my presentation. I think I covered everything within 45 minutes. Thank you so much for listening patiently, and we can discuss, and I can try to answer if you have any questions now.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you take down the
Yes,
slide?
sure.
Each other. Okay.
Just a minute. Uh, if I want to take down the slide, I, for some weird reason, but I don't see the option to stop sharing.
Just say stop share.
Yeah, I somehow I don't see that option. That's weird. I still see share, but not stop share.
How about if I remove the permission?
Okay, maybe.
I think that was enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There's so many, it's really jam-packed with
Yeah.
the great ideas. And
Yeah.
so I want to open it up to everybody to comment or ask questions, and just unmute yourself, and just you can join in if you feel like saying anything. Anybody bring up any thoughts for anybody? To bring up any thoughts about your own work or about anything that Samrat was saying, the idea that, I mean, I very much like the idea of it gives you the opportunity to let the AI do certain things that you had to do before, and now it forces you to be more creative. Like that's the point I really picked up on. Now you can find new ways to be creative.
Yeah.
Like anything in life. And like that never goes away, the need for everybody to really think about the interaction and the human element. Yeah, Carol.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting, and such an important topic in today's age, where a lot of the students and university students are all using AI for essays and and cutting corners, and not really putting themselves into their work. I think it speaks very much to Viktor Frankl's idea of the healthy core within each of us, and that we need to preserve that and work hard at keeping that at all costs, building it and growing it. So many of the things that you talked about being meaninglessness causing that, I think the other side of the coin, by using those in a positive way to build that healthy inner sense of connectedness and self, really would promote a lot of, of healthy values. So, for instance, recognizing, appreciating, acknowledging people in the workplace, fairness, empowering people, creating a safe space, identifying the values of the company that a person goes in, knowing what to expect and whether that is, congruent with their own way of thinking. So I think there's so many aspects you've brought up that link so beautifully with Viktor Frankl's work. So thank you very much for a lovely presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Means a lot.
Someone else have something they want to comment on?
Abdullah, I really liked the presentation. And what I specifically loved is, this when you said that the AI doesn't have a moral compass, whereas humans do. So, that is something I think that each one of us has to be very, very, very conscious and responsible. That because that is, I think we have our hands up on AI from that aspect. So I really like that. And we need to work on this moral compass, our own.
Very
and
true.
Carefully use the AI like that. So I like this very much, and I really love the way you very beautifully concise and put. This is a very difficult concept and topic for people to understand. But you put it so beautifully and easily, simple for people to understand. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And someone else? Have any thoughts?
It's not really a clear or crystallized thought. I think just as we're contemplating the role of AI and just what a big part it is, and how it can be used in a very positive way, and then just also considering a bit of the downside. I'm just thinking of critical thinking. How is that developed? Just as one example. And then just throughout the presentation, realizing the human bond and human-centric perspectives and what role that can play, that AI might not fully comprehend. I was just thinking if we connect that even to a younger generation that knows the technical world very well and is, they grow up with AI in their hands. I'm just thinking, at what point do we become so human-centric that we are no longer productive? And maybe that just comes from a week of facing a lot of demand for human perspective and understanding and growing empathy and establishing meaning, to a point where we don't realize the reason why we're in a workspace, So I was just so challenged when our presenters spoke about that not every moment might feel meaningful. So I don't know if you can speak into that. It's not very well worded at the moment. I think it feels like a variety of thoughts just not, coming together. So I don't know if you could speak into that.
I'm not sure I correctly understood. So if you could just summarize, do you want to understand or dive deep into certain things? Because I understand your overall statement, but I did not understand what you want me to talk about. So
I think your last point maybe, Bianca, about how the workplace is not meaningful every minute of every day. So how do you feel like your work has meaning?
Yeah, I think Bacha, that's good. I think how do we navigate that with a generation that is a bit entitled and focused on a very human-centric perspective?
Okay, understood. I think so. I think that's where the initial part, I think what I was saying, that reflection. So when I say someone is rational, we often think that person is thinking logically. So I think in the age of AI, we'll have to more and more value our ability to reflect and contemplate, and we need to really encourage this culture of self-reflection. That okay, as you have said, people are so entitled and they want everything now and right now. So maybe we need to tell them, hey, maybe we can learn something with regard to rationality. Rationality does not mean you think all the time logically, but you should be able to understand your capability of self-deception and so things like this. So I think reflecting on your life, on your inner faculty, and as Carol said, your whole healthy core, I think will play a crucial role. It will not happen overnight with our younger generation, but as a whole, it's a preparation for the age of AI that probably will have to be a bit more reflective. That it's kind of re-evaluation of our values.
Can I give a kind of
Yeah.
rephrasing or maybe interpretation of your answer? Is that it's challenging us, alongside learning to be more creative and going with the fast-paced changes. We have to equally be right on top of things as far as teaching people to reflect on their lives and, you know, learn what are values in life and what, you know, like it's like the spiritual or the ethical is going to have to keep pace instead of saying, you know, we have to keep pace with the technology, right? That we're going to have to upgrade our spiritual education, right? To be able to handle it, right? That's how I would put it. But
very nicely said, yeah.
Dr. Kanda, what did you what were you thinking?
Dr. Kanda, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, he's
Very much. Very exciting and interesting presentation. I'm very sorry again for my interference. I happened to talk to someone, not know that I was unmute. I'm very pleased to be
don't
here.
worry. Okay.
And yes, and seeing someone I've seen many years ago. That's coming. It's a pleasure to see you. Look, your presentation is beautiful, and I really salute you for the presentation because listening to you.
I cannot
The sound is a little
properly.
bit broken up. Is there any way you could put in earphones or anything you could do?
Okay, fine. Let me look for the earphone.
No, now it's better. Now it's better.
I'll come back.
Okay.
It could be the internet connection, maybe. But
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
The connection. So I was saying very hopeful and it's bring hopes listening to you because sometimes when you listen to people presenting AI, it's like it's going to take over and this we are done, we are doomed. So it is I really love it. And especially that you bring the meaning aspect to it, which again is an illustration of how logotherapy becomes important in this era. So mine is to raise some questions, some thoughts. I am working in a medical environment. We do say we have level of different aspects. One, we are dealing with data. If we organize them, they become informations. If we go further, they provide understanding or knowledge. But then beyond knowledge, there is wisdom. So one can ask, where does AI start and where does it stop? Can it go beyond wisdom? Because that's very important because it then gives us some kind of comfort to say as a human being, we always have that freedom of will and responsibility. That's one thing. The second thing is...
Sorry, now you're more clear.
It wasn't clear what your question was because it got broken up for a minute. So you're saying there's a lot of data, and then where does AI end and start? It wasn't clear what the question was.
Yes. And can AI go as far as from data to wisdom? Can we expect AI to become wise, to have wisdom, basically? Now, the other observation is actually a paradox for me. We've been thinking if we have ways of transportation, traveling, easy way of traveling, people will become closer because we have means of traveling. But we know as well that the more we have way of traveling, people are more disconnected. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah.
We also think that if we have means of communication, of talking to each other, if you look at the phone, I'm pleased that I'm getting into the senior citizen age, that I can have a period where we have old phone compared to the phone we have today. So the more the communication tools have improved, the more instead of us being human who communicate better, our communication has become even poorer and lead to alienation, as you say. So that's another paradox. So what would be the paradox of AI? what would be the paradox of AI? And my last observation is to say how do Franco call it? How will AI help us to deal with the tragic triad? Tragic triad, that is death, suffering, and guilt. I thought I should just bring all these questions because you said through your studies with AI, you became interested in philosophy and logotherapy. So I thought these would be areas of reflection, not only for you, but for many of us, because we are into this era. Thank you very much again for a beautiful presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe I should try to touch upon all the questions one by one, as you have mentioned. So I think your first question was, we have data. When we organize data in a way that it's meaningful, then we say it's information. And then from information comes knowledge. But when we have a deeper understanding of the knowledge or information, we say it's wisdom. Can AI have wisdom? I think that was your first question. So I think this is a very hot philosophical debate of our days. So the debate is that there are two things. So it will get a bit technical now. So one thing is that syntax, another thing is that semantics. So what is syntax and what is semantics? Syntax is that all the AI, as I've said, that AI is basically trained on a large data set, right? So basically, we have trained AI on a so large data set that it's like we call it a large language model. So it's trained in a way, it's trained on all the data, all the text, all the information of the world. It knows how to place one word after another, one after another in a best possible way. So there is this thought experiment. They call it Chinese room experiment, where a person who has a dictionary and some Chinese word, and then if you're saying, okay, I love you, and from the back side of the curtain, he would go through the dictionary. He does not know. He will just match the words with the dictionary, and you'll know, okay, if this is the question, you will have to give the answer back. This is the answer. So that person, just by looking at the symbol or the words, will know, okay, I need to provide this information for this. Now, I do not know Chinese. Just looking at the dictionary, I'm matching this word with this word, I'm providing the answer. I understand the syntax. The syntax is that if this is the input, this should be the output, I give it back. Semantics is when I understand the meaning. Do I understand the meaning of what I provided? No, the answer is no. I do not know Chinese. I only looked at the dictionary. I provided the particular answer. I have the understanding of the syntax. By syntax, I mean I only matched this and this. I provided the answer. So this is a very hot debate of AI. What is syntax? What is semantics? Syntax is understanding of the language, understanding of the language model, because it's trained on the data or language, as you have said. So AI understands the syntax. AI does not understand the semantics. And if we understand the semantics, right? We understand meaning of something. We have the ability of reflection, things like this. So we can have wisdom, we can have knowledge, but AI cannot have the wisdom or knowledge because it does not understand the semantics. So that's one part. The second part is the true paradox of AI is not within AI, it's within human being. So I'll tell you something, because everyone, all of us gathering here, we believe that we are human being. In some capacity, we are special. We have the soul, we have a healthy core, we have the ability to reason and find meaning. But not every people believe in that. That's the irony of human species. So the problem is that human being is special, but they do not want to acknowledge the fact that they're special. So the thing is that the AI is in the hands of the people. Majority of them, I'm not trying to sound like I don't want to say something mean, but most of the people are non-believer. They don't believe in God. They don't believe that there is something special in human being. And I think Viktor Frankl addressed that question in one of his book. I think maybe it was Doctor on the Soul or something like this, where he specifically said human being is not like a chemical bag. It's not a bag of chemical, right? So because there are scientists who would try to say you do not have a soul. We cannot scientifically prove that you have a soul. So who are you? You are just a random collection of chemicals. So the fundamental particles, so electron, neutron, and proton. So you are just a collection of electron, neutron, and proton. So this mobile phone is a collection of electron, neutron, and proton. This water bottle is a collection of electron, neutron, and proton. You are just the same. So it's not coming from AI, it's coming from a human being. So there is as a big portion of scientists who believe we do not have a soul. We are not special. We are just collection of electron, neutron, and proton, and there is no fundamental difference. Like if we say, what is the difference between this water bottle and a human being? They would say, no, there is no difference, because both of these are fundamentally collection of electron, neutron, and protons. So now, as you have asked the question, can AI become wise? Now the thing is that when I was answering AI can understand syntax but cannot understand semantics, I was coming from a human perspective. But there are scientists who believe there is no difference. So if I can become wise, they can become wise. So what is the philosophical debate here? The philosophical debate here is that if this water bottle is a collection of electron, neutron, and proton, and if a human being is also a collection of electron, neutron, and proton, then how do I have consciousness and this water bottle does not have any consciousness? Because fundamentally it's the same. That's what you are saying, right? And the scientists are very divided in this regard. So there are 5 schools of thoughts. So there is one school of thought who would say no one is conscious. So they would just say human beings are not conscious. We're not conscious agent. So this water bottle is unconscious. Human beings are unconscious as well. Consciousness is an illusion. If you search on YouTube, there are number of prominent neuroscientists who'd come on camera and say, we are not conscious. There is no consciousness. Fundamentally, there is no free will. So when you deny consciousness, you deny free will. So they would deny that, okay, there is no free will. And if there is no free will, this question of meaning goes out of the window, right? Because if there is no free will, there is no. So this is a very, very big philosophical debate that we need to, I think, solve. And it's not coming from AI, it's coming from human being. Human being who have free will, basically arguing that there is no free will. It's just all chemical reactions and things like this. So I think the main paradox in going forward will come from the scientists. So one group of scientists would say there is no consciousness, there is no free will. There is another group of scientists, they believe in panpsychism. If you search on Google, it's a hot philosophical debate, it's panpsychism. They would say there is mind in everything. So one group of scientists are saying there is no consciousness, nothing is conscious. Another group of scientists is saying this water bottle is also conscious, I am also conscious. So panpsychism. So there is a mind, or at least mind-like things in this water bottle as well. And then how do we become more conscious than everything else? They said it's just complexity. We do not understand the complexity of human brain. So electron, neutron, proton combined in a way, it's so complex. There are billions of neurons firing in the brain. We do not know how does it work. Maybe in 10 years time, we'll understand how the brain works. Then we'll know how the consciousness and things like this arises. So I think the real challenge again in the age of AI will become to convince human being that you are conscious, you are a agent who have free will, who have consciousness. So I think the real paradox is with us. Again, I think we need to reflect. We need to go back to our basics, that believe that you have your life is meaningful. There's a study that shows people who believe that they have free will, they live a healthier life compared to those people who does not believe that they have free will. So this is a very hotly debated topic of our age, and I was very sad when I was diving deep into philosophy, and when I first found out such prominent intellectuals are basically arguing for the fact that we do not have any free will. And this is so unscientific, because they are saying if I kill someone, I'm not morally responsible for that. That's what they're saying. They're saying it's a chemical reaction. When, like, how do I define free will? I say if I kill someone, I'm judged, I'm punished because I could have not done that, right? I had a choice. Instead of killing that person, I could not have killed that person. But those intellectuals would say it's a chemical reaction. Universe is causally closed according to physics. So everything that started is just like a chain reaction happening. So we do not have any free will. You could not have done anything else. So I have killed someone. I am causally responsible, but I'm not morally responsible. So I should be locked in a prison because the chemical reaction within myself makes me prone to kill other people. So it's safe for the society to lock me up in the prison, but the society should not hate me because I'm not morally responsible, but I'm causally responsible. So that's the philosophical debate that's going on, which is very, very deep. But I think I try to briefly explain that. But the real paradox, Kanda, I think what you said, it will come from human being, not from AI. And that's why I think, again, we need to reflect, we need to go back to our basics, and we need to believe that we are meaningful agent, we have the free will, we have the ability to act ethically and meaningfully, and we have the ability to become morally responsible for all of our actions. Most of our actions, I would say.
I love your explanation. It really explains so much. I feel like I want to get to Kanda's other two questions, so
Yeah.
we don't have time to go into more. You said there were 5 different perspectives.
Yeah.
Can you share with us your YouTube channel? Just share it with me, and then I'll send it to Pan, and she'll send everybody so that we can watch you there.
Yeah.
And we can hear you explain it more fully. Okay.
But yeah, unfortunately, I was doing it for my Bangladeshi people, so it's in Bengali. So I will still share the channel with you, but I was trying to mostly educate and the people of my country, because they do not speak English, and a channel like this in Bengali was important for them to get in contact with all, because this is coming. I think this age of meaninglessness is true. It's a real challenge for people of our time, especially for the younger generation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
But I will still share the channel with you, just in case if you want to have.
Okay. Maybe you can do one episode in English about this topic.
Yeah.
And then
Of course.
Okay. So but to go to the next 2 questions, the question about communication being worse now, instead of better.
Yeah, true. It's very true. As it's a very sad reality that, again, the leading people of our age, they do not believe in meaning and free will again, and they believe that okay, if I do not connect with someone physically, who cares? Doesn't matter. And there are many people who recently resigned from all those big tech companies, because that, again, how well it connects with their value, because Facebook and YouTube and other platforms, they're intentionally forcing their engineers to make the platform more and more addictive, because it's a business now, right? Because if someone is within Facebook, and if he's dropping out of Facebook and going to YouTube, it's a business. It's you are just like an object of business now. If you drop off from the Facebook and go to YouTube, it's a business for YouTube, not for Facebook. So if they can hook you up in Facebook, and they will do that in every possible way. So in the recent survey shows that 78% of the videos that you watch on YouTube was not your intention. So you logged onto Facebook, YouTube, you wanted to see something, and then since then you are just mindlessly scrolling, because AI knows you so much. It knows, okay, based on all the patterns that it has seen before, okay, after this video I should immediately recommend this video so that he is watching this and that and that. Can you imagine a platform where you are watching videos where 78% of the videos is not what you are searching, it's what they're recommending you. So communication will become more and more difficult. And someone who resigned from Google, he said something really nice, because again comes back to our original question of reflection. Do we really reflect? We often think, okay, Facebook is free, YouTube is free, I am watching, who cares, I'm watching, I'm not paying anything, they are so good of a company. But what are they doing? They're showing advertisement and then earning money from the advertisement from all those advertisers, right? In at expense of what? At expense of your time. You're completely hooked on Facebook and YouTube. You're watching those things, you're watching ads. Those companies are earning monies and things like this. And the guy who resigned from Google because it went against his values to make the platform more and more addictive, he said, be careful. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So that was so insightful. It's true that you're not paying for the product. It's free. Facebook and YouTube is free. But remember, you are the product. They are making money out of you. So be mindful, be reflective, be aware of what you are doing. So if you're not communicating with your friends and family, it's your own responsibility. You need to take charge of it. No one is going to help you, because it's a era of extreme capitalism, era of extreme competition. You need to go back to your basic human characteristics, how well you can think, how well you can contemplate, self-reflect, and things like this, how well you can actualize yourself. So I don't think anyone is going to help us, Kanda. We need to take responsibility for our own action going forward.
Yeah. Yep. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the third question was, how can AI deal with the tragic triad?
I think we have discussed that, right? Because we should give AI all the meaningless routine tasks, and we should take care of ourselves. The tragic triad is our responsibility, probably, right? So we need to answer all those questions in a meaningful way. So yeah, I don't think AI can help us, but AI can give us enough time to reflect and come up with a question. But what I found out, the more and more I thought about the challenges of AI, it basically made me more and more strong. When I joined this logotherapy course, my sense of meaning was not as high as it is now. But I think it really increased over time, and it shows our capability to accept those challenges and find meaning out of it. But most of the cases, people will just stop. They would just believe some substandard explanation and stop there. But I think we have the capability to go beyond and search for like meaning, which is actually out there. And the more you dive deep, the more you figure out. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I will share my presentation.
You'll share this presentation, right? And then I'll send it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I will.
Something you said early on about how one of the ways that people lose their sense of meaning at work is when they're given tasks to do that are not appropriate for them. And, they're like, they don't really make use of their talents.
Yeah.
So if you have AI that can do those kind of things, then you have no reason to give tasks to people that are not really what you should be giving them.
Yeah, true.
So in that sense, it can help us.
Yeah.
but it still boils down to, the human element of, does the person, who's heading the business appreciate the workers? Does he, recognize that what they have to contribute that's unique, and I think that there's something, just because they're human beings, to look at them even as adding an extra added element, like not only to believe that we have free will, but to believe that the free will of human beings gives them a monumentally greater advantage over a machine.
Yeah, true.
So there's an interesting question, from my kind of context, where somebody wrote an article about a religious law, and questions that somebody could go into AI and find all of the responsive literature and all of the considerations that it possibly could be, and then come up with an answer. Can they come up with an answer as opposed to a human being? And the answer was no. They came up with wrong answers, because there's a human element that's necessary. And I think that's within any realm. There's always a human element to everything. That's the final word. The final word has to be coming from, the values which can't be measured, which can't be calculated exactly.
Yeah, true.
That's also part of the attitude that, those groups that you talked about, the ones who don't believe in free choice, the ones who do.
Yeah, true.
Oh, Kanda, Dr. Kanda. Yeah.
I just wanted to share on what you said, but what makes us human being is our uniqueness.
Yeah.
I'd like you to correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm tempted to say AI is dealing with averages. Is if you let yourself live by AI, it's actually conformism. It's doing what average people do. But as a human being, in our uniqueness, we are beyond or besides average. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And to see that that uniqueness is relevant in many areas where people, like in the field of medicine, for example, where people do tend to look at the average and then don't look at the uniqueness of the individual in front of them. Whereas, really good doctor, you have that one-to-one relationship, and you see the unique person in front of you. You see the holistic perspective of the person. All right. So I think that our time is just about finished, and that was just a wonderful presentation. And so we recorded it. People were not able to participate. We'll be able to hear it. So I'm going to stop here.